We'll begin lying down where you will just take a minute to gauge the release of tension, release of any holding or tension. You want to just come to your back and find your breath and begin your practice from this baseline of you feel just release, neutral body, at ease, effortless. Let's just take 10 breaths in and out through your nose to begin your practice. Feel tension and holding just drain out, drain away from your face. Your throat and your chest, your upper back. Feel breath just empty away from your abdomen. Just taking your attention, scanning attention down through the pelvis, your hips, your lower back. Continue to move awareness down through your legs, the weight of your legs, and through your knees, your lower legs, ankles, feet. And as you finish this breath, you can leave your eyes closed if your eyes are closed and you want to keep your eyes closed, you can. If you want to just open your eyes, but then from there, slide your right foot up to stand, and then take that knee across, push through the right foot to turn your hips a little more toward the left, arch your lower back, then come back and drop the knee wide and slide the foot back down to the foot of your mat. Repeat. Same leg, same foot, same side. Gauge a comfortable mobility in your right hip and your right lower back. Do one more with your right leg, right hip. And so that side completely lets go, release, and then when you're ready, slide left foot up to stand, cross the knee over, turn your hips. Couple more, same leg, same foot, same turn to the right. Both legs all the way out long. And then if you have space beside you, I think you both have quite a lot of room beside you. You take your right arm, lift it up into the air, overhead to the floor. So the back of the hand feels the floor, and then slide that arm back down, wide to your side, and then all the way back up overhead. Let the weight of the arm make a big arc and a circle at the shoulder. Then go the other way, go out wide with the arm, and then up and down to the floor. And just feel these first movements we do lying down on your back, how easy they are, how effortless they feel on the joints, on the bones and the joints. And then do the same thing with your left arm, just 3 times up, out wide, slide it down to your side like you're making angels in the snow. Switch directions, 3 more. So how easy this feels compared with when we get up onto all 4s and do the same movements. How much more of our strength we have to access in the back. Okay, then bring both feet to stand on the floor, and then both knees into your hands. You can pull both knees into your chest. Good. And then let the knees go a little bit wide. Take yourself from side to side across your lower back. If you want to come up with your feet and grab onto your feet like happy baby pose, get a little deeper into your hip joints. If you want to stretch your legs, you go to one side, you push out through one foot, go to the other side, push out through that foot. Another breath or 2. And then set your feet back down on the floor. Turn yourself over onto your side. Slowly come up. And bring your legs forward. Just come to a seat. Extend your legs out in front of you. Palms next to you, right? Make like staff pose, Dandasana. So strong push of your palms. Firm up your legs, push out through your heels. Flex the ankles. Take 2 more breaths. Then let that go. Lean back into your hands a little bit. Bring 1 foot wide of your mat, a little wider than your mat, and the other foot to stand, so that when you drop both knees to one side, your legs are clear of one another. You might just go as wide as your mat with your feet. Lift your knees, drop your knees, lift your knees, drop your knees. Drop your knees to the left. Bring your right arm across, right? Bring both hands up near this top edge of your mat. Just give yourself a good rotation through the low back, through the bottom of your rib cage. Good. And then come back up, drop your knees to the right, reach your left arm around, go the other way. Just find a nice deep rotation. Good. And then come back to center. Come forward onto your hands and knees. Breathe through 4 or 5 rounds of cow pose, cat pose, side bending, child pose. If you want to go back to child's pose in the exhale. Weight back into the tops of your ankles and your feet. Do a couple of more, and as you're coming forward into the cow pose, think about lifting, initiating that from the top of your upper back, from the space between your shoulder blades, rather than your neck or your head. Let's do one more. From all fours, bring both hands over to the left. Okay, so you're turning your fingers out to face outward toward the left. You're taking a little side bend this way. You could just like walk your hands over and then maybe lean a little bit more into the left rib cage, a little more squeeze in the left side waist. Okay. See your back. And then let's go back to center. Go to the right with your hands. Go once more to each side. Notice where it feels, which side, if there is a side that feels where this feels a little more, it's easier, it's more effortless. Or there might not be a whole lot of sensation of stretch in one direction. There might be more sensation of stretch when you go the other way. Go to the right with your hands. And then come back to center. And then pick up your left arm and do the same circles we did on the back. Facing the floor. Reach forward, reach up, reach back, reach down. And then switch directions. And then switch arms when you're ready to switch arms. I'm doing 5 and 5. And then from here, you can either push back into child's pose or sit back on your feet. And give yourself another couple of breaths just out of your hands and your shoulders. Let your shoulders go, release the shoulders. Release that strain from the shoulders. And then if you're sitting, right, you might just like swing your arm in that same circle, right? Nothing else really moving except that arm. And you notice how easy it is again. Notice how every time you shift your relationship to gravity, what has to work? Here you're using more arm muscles than shoulder or back to get your arm up in the air. Back and shoulder muscles tend to, I think, are more commonly a little bit more underdeveloped, weaker, right, from just postural stuff. How easy this is compared with having to use your actual shoulder, isolating the work into your shoulder in the back that way. So come back onto all fours and bring yourself into downward facing dog. So toes under, hips back, right? Try again this hips back behind the knees, lift off so that your thighs are working to lift your knees, and then take your knees back. Take 4 more breaths. Then one more breath here. And open the backs of your legs, heels toward the floor, lift the sit-bones, your ischial tuberosities. Good. And then take one leg up into the air behind you. I'm gonna take my left leg up into the air behind me, lift it tall, and then bring it to your chest. Shift your shoulders forward. High push up with one foot and then go back and lift that leg. And bring it forward. Long and strong, twice more. Focus on strength and intensity a little bit more than really trying to pull long stretches. Put your left foot on the floor, take your right leg into the air. Long and strong lift and then shift forward. Two more. Right foot goes back to the floor, downward facing dog. And then come back to the floor. This is the reverse of the way you got up. So just bend your knees. Slowly just bend your knees. Knees to the floor. Child's pose again, or just sit back on your feet, your choice. And two more breaths. Okay, back up onto all fours. Bring your left foot forward. Bring your back toes under. Come to just about this much, or you would be coming into stand up. And go back down onto your knee and turn your toes back. So fingers, fingertips, or palms, you're just lifting off into the front leg. Can you come up into your fingertips and your left foot? And take your left leg like warrior three, right? So just straight up and back behind you. Take another breath here. Drop that foot back, drop that knee back down to the floor. Come up onto both knees, right? Just stand on your knees in between before we move to the other side. And then again, from all fours, from fingertips and knees, your right foot forward, turn your back toes under, and just come just that much, like halfway toward coming forward to stand up, and then drop your knee back down to the floor. Just where you feel your weight centered over your front leg, to your front leg. Drop your left foot, drop the left knee. That once or twice more. Just more fun with functional movement. And then when you come up this time, come up. Let your weight shift forward, maybe bring your fingertips a little bit forward, and then lift your left leg into the air. Soften your right knee, just let your weight center right over your right leg. Drop your left foot. Drop your left knee. Take your right knee back. And sit back on your feet, or just stay standing on your knees. Yeah. And then just kind of make Like little claws, bend your fingers, right, and work any strain out of your hands, your tips of your fingers. Feel good to make fists. Good. And then decide which of your legs is your weaker leg. Or if you're standing on your knees, if you're sitting back on your feet, come up onto your knees. Push that leg forward, put that foot forward. Or hold on to the knee you can just for stability to get yourself up off the floor. Lean forward, turn your back toes under. And just stand all the way up. Good. And then from where you are here standing, let's take a few breaths where you're just going to lift your heels, your arms forward, up overhead, and then back behind you, drop your heels. Big circles, big windmilling circles with your arms. Switch directions with your arms, reach back, reach up, reach forward. Okay, and then from there, soften your knees and roll forward, right, and round forward. Drop your chin, roll down into a forward fold. Walk your hands forward into a high push-up position. Or walk your feet back if you're at the front of your mat. And then let your hips drop. Keep the backs of your hips firm. So the fronts of your hips could drop. Chest could come a little bit forward. And then lift yourself back to the high push-up position. Walk your hands back to your feet. And then with an inhale, roll back up to stand. Good. Let's do that twice more. Everything concaves, collapses a little bit to the front. Roll down to a forward fold. Walk your hands forward. Firm the backs of your hips. Drop the legs, drop the hips, like upward facing dog. High push-up position. Lift the pelvis, lift the abdomen, walk your hands back. Inhale, come up. Once more. Walk the hands up. Stay on the toes, on the balls of the feet. Drop the hips. Lift through the abdomen. Walk the hands back. Lift the hips as you come to forward fold. Inhale, come up. And then from mountain pose, take both arms up over your head. Hands together, reach. Side bend. Inhale. Move and breathe from side to side. Hinging from side to side through your waist spine, through your lumbar spine. So you feel those outer ribs, those lower outer ribs moving toward the hip bone, right? Hip bone toward the ribs. Inhale, come up. Exhale, lower your arms and roll your shoulders a few times. So from the middle of your mat, step your feet apart. Let's go out with the left foot, back with the right heel. Good. And then just find where do you want to, how far low do you want to go? Low do you want to go in your legs? And then arms reach. Reach, just come in and out a few times. And fly your arms up a little higher, a little more engagement in the tops of your shoulders. Feel that kind of little squeeze right at the tops of your shoulders. Go a little higher. Come in and hold. One more breath. And take a breath in. Exhale, reverse. Inhale, drop this bottom arm and take your top arm up and over. And go back to reverse. Right, so just more, a little more mobility through the arms. Once more. And come up. Lower your arms, extend your front knee, turn in your left toes. Stabilize through the feet, so get equal weight through the soles of both of your feet. And then the toes just looking straight forward. Let's take hands to hips, soft knees. Take forward fold. Take one more breath in the fold. Good. Come up through a strong spine and then turn out your right toes. Go a little wider, right? Decide just how low do you want to sit. Do you have the support and the strength in your legs to sit your hips low? Come in and out. No hurry, just move and breathe. One more like that. Hold for 5. Good. Oh yeah, reverse, right? We'll go back and forth through a little dance, right? So you're gonna inhale here, exhale, reverse. Inhale. Once more. And release the arms, release the front knee, front thigh, turn in the right toes. And then grab a block. If you need to have one handy, can you grab a block so that we can take this spinal rotation with your feet wide, but with a little bit of height underneath this hand. You can always just put your fingertips, use fingertips to the floor if you don't have a block. Let's take it into the right hand. So start with your feet wide, your toes facing the long edge of your mat and your arms extended, and you're holding the block in your right hand. And then find a little turn first. Set that block down right underneath your face. Breathe. Where does it feel comfortable to turn? Let's try just finding a comfortable way to turn your spine, starting with your feet on the floor. And the leverage of your palm and your block and your arm. Start from your feet, wiggle a little bit through your knees, let your hips move. Try not to just isolate the turn in one place. Or to keep your hips stable and move away from stable hips. So just put the whole thing into a rotation. Where do you get the most space and the most breath? What do you need more on this side that you're maybe not going to need as much on the other side, or vice versa? Then come back to the block with your right hand. Let's come up to stand and start in that same way, where we come with the block in the hand from upright, arms wide, then turn, then and just play, right? Starting at the ground and your legs. Where does it feel optimal to have your hips? What's the optimal placement of your hips? Make space right from pushing your feet into the floor. Feel some movement in your ankles and your knees, and in where your thigh bones meet your hip joints and your pelvis. Take one more breath. Lower the right hand, set the block off to the side, and then just from the fold, take a breath from the fold. Hands to hips or feet or thighs. Press. Come all the way up. Yeah. Your 2 feet together. Okay. And let's go. I'm going to go back to the wall like we did last week. So you can see. Using the wall, using just more wall. And you're back to the wall. Let's start with just your heels, even right up close to the baseboards, so you can feel the backs of your hips. And just get as much of yourself into the wall as you can. And feel what that does to your lumbar spine, to your lower back, when you try to get your head and your hips against the wall. And then can you get a little more shoulder blades? Can you take a breath in and then exhale? Navel to spine. Good. So try to find, right, kind of this idea of your neutral upright spine, right, without too much of arching and back bending in the low back. Find neutral upright spine at the wall. Go up with the arms. Keep as much contact with the wall as you can. through the entire length of your arm. When you get to the place where you feel like, oh, I can't go any farther, my arms have to come off the wall. My hands can stay, but my arms come off the wall. Be where you can keep the fullest contact and then just push your arms back into the wall. That's hard. Resist the wall. I'll let your arms come down. Let's go a little bit, a couple of inches away from the wall with your standing foot. If I'm going to stand in my left foot, I'm going to bring my right foot to the side of my thigh. And then find tree pose here. Use as much wall as you want. You can be here, just having the wall under your hands. Lean the hands back and let the fingers have the wall and just keep pushing the rest of you upright away from the wall. Have a little bend in the elbows to take just your fingertips, thumbs and index fingers. There's the engagement in your upper back. Plow pose and shoulder stand will feel good. After this, you're really wanting to use the wall to help you find the support in your upper back. Push the wall, just squeeze. Upper back, shoulder blades toward the spine. Good. Another breath. Yeah, and then let that go. As much wall as you want to use. You can even you can start all the way back against the wall. So hips, back, shoulders on the wall, and then yourself forward. And again, find that sort of that sliding upward. Backs of your hands. Or palms facing one another, you might come up a little higher. Extend the elbows, index fingers, thumbs. Right, this could be fun, right? To just turn your palms to the wall with your fingers facing, like you were doing a back bend. Push away from the wall through your palms. One more breath. Good. Okay. And then we can come back to your neck. Good. So we'll just do that again, rolling back down to the fold. Walk back out to the high push-up position. Squeeze in and hold. Three more breaths. Then lower yourself all the way down onto your belly. Turn one cheek to the floor, bring your arms down alongside you. Okay, and then gaze toward your mat, so bring your chin forward, head forward, but stay kind of low toward the ground and your mat with your gaze. And then take your arms to 90 degrees away from your shoulders, 90 degrees at the elbows, tops of your feet, push the tops of your feet to the floor. Take a breath in and extend your arms overhead. And then come back to that kind of floating right angles. Inhale, reach. Exhale, come back. 3 more. Lower your arms again, turn one cheek to it. Okay, and then let your palms press you away from the floor. And here from all fours, let's go into noose pose or thread the needle. So take the left arm, first reach it up. Can you find that same hold at the upper back? Squeeze shoulder blades toward one another, lifting arm as far as you can. Then slide it through. There's a little twist and a side bend through the ribcage spine here. How does that feel? Take another couple of breaths on this side. Come back onto all fours. Take your right arm into the air. Reach, 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 reach up, reach back. And then come through with your kitty. Girl. 'Good. Another couple of breaths on the side. Good, and then let yourself out. Let's come to a seat with your legs forward once again. Right, and then from extended legs, right, so from sit bones, right, from the bones that comprise the floor of your pelvis, that support the floor of your pelvis, out through your heels. Feel the tension lengthening between where your heels are reaching out and your sit bones are kind of reaching back, and then reach up, a little space behind your knees, fold over your legs. Long spine, just let this be some lengthening and release in your lower back. Two more breaths here. And then you're up. And then, let's go ahead and come onto your back and support plow pose and shoulder stand, in any way that feels right for your shoulders, okay? I'll do it with a blanket just to show, in case you have a blanket and you want to do this just as a way to modify. So I leave space for my head up here. Typically, when you're really first learning this, or maybe you don't have a lot of space in your back and your shoulders or your chest is tight, 3 blankets, stack of 3 blankets. But we can modify the pose this way, and then I just fold some mat up onto it so that my elbows stick. And if you're just using your mat and you're comfortable with that, it's also cool, but modify it if you need to. Really, the big precaution here is with your neck, okay? So using no supports puts a lot of pressure on your cervical spine. You're essentially, flattening the whole back of your neck onto the floor if you're not using support. So try to keep the idea of having a little bit of that curve in your neck. Your feet can come over. You can just stay here. You can just do plow pose. Hands supporting the back of your rib cage, and right up underneath your shoulder blades. If that's available, elbows way in. All right, you could do this, you could do dead bug pose, which is just letting your knees drop into the sides of your head, to the sides of your ears. You could take one leg up, or you could have your hips way out. So a lot more space to breathe. Hips off of that kind of center line of gravity, hips out of the vertical. Your spine not out, your spine out of the vertical, your spine more angled. And then your legs can come up and you can just hold the backs of your hips and be upside down that way. Or all the way, walk the hands back to the shoulder blades. The hips over the shoulders. Reach up through your toes. What can you feel in your toes? What can you feel in your feet up there? Stay as long as you're comfortable, come down whenever you want. Another breath or two if you're still here. Slowly down with some control, with some precision. We'll let your legs back into plow pose. Let your arms go overhead. Then roll back down through your spine. Oh, I hear thunder. Good, so your back is on the floor, your feet are on the floor. And then, especially if you're using that little blanket for support, just kind of walk yourself up until your shoulder blades are off the blanket, and then just take a breath or two here. And then from here, now that you are off your neck, you want to turn your head side to side, turn your head. Right, so if you are comfortably positioned here for Shavasana, you could just stay right here. Adjust anything else you might need to adjust. Take my blanket out from underneath me and hold it so that I can have that for my head. Yeah. Not too much fuss, without too much preamble. Let's just rest here for 5 minutes. If you have time, longer if you have time, but we'll go 5 minutes up to the hour. Notice what you feel, where you feel it. How do you feel just kind of overall, energetically, your body? How does that translate into what you can sense in your body, in the feel of through your skin, through your breath? And let go of control of your breath. Just let your breath become completely untethered to effort. Take another minute or two here. Can you stay? Can you just stay right here? So notice the weight of your eyes. Eyes just resting heavy in the eye sockets. So then if you're going to leave Shavasana here, just take another breath or two. Feel free to stay in Shavasana for another 3 to 4 minutes. And then when you want to come up and we'll sit for another 4 or 5 minutes. You get your long Shavasana. Another 5 minutes in Shavasana. And then we'll sit for 5. I'm gonna go ahead and just sit. Take another 3-4 minutes if you are still on your back. Sitting, already up to sit, let's just sit for another 5 minutes. We'll practice short meditation, seated meditation. Take a moment just to feel the breath and notice how your postural practice prepares you for meditation. So just in this last minute, just come back, recommit. Stay as close with your attention as you can. Intend to just stay here. Okay, so we'll close here, we'll close here. Just take a breath and then let your eyes open, let your eyes adjust again to the light, the color and shadow in the room around you. We'll close up this here. Thank you once again for your time.